G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoy today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, let's get right into it. Posted by a throwaway account titled, My 30 male, fiance 38 female, is angry that I got my daughter 5 pairs of running shoes. My fiancé has 3 kids, 16 male, 19 female, and 13 male, with her ex. Meanwhile, I only have 1 kid with my ex, my daughter, 14 female. My daughter is a state qualifying cross-country and track runner. This means that her training schedule is rather intense, with her weekly mileage reaching into the high 70s and low 80s. At her most recent sports physical, I asked her doctor how often I should replace her shoes because I'm sure they get worn out pretty quickly with the amount of miles she's running each week. Her doctor recommended switching the shoes out every 6 months, as well as get 2 pairs of shoes so that she can switch out the pair she's wearing every other day or so. However, her shoes may need to get replaced earlier depending on how intense her weeks get. After the appointment, I took my daughter out to a few athletic stores so she can pick out a few pairs. I told her to pick out 4 pairs of running shoes, 2 for track season, and 2 for cross-country. Then I told her to pick out a pair of spikes for her races. I spent over $300 for her shoes. When we came home, my fiancé saw the bags my daughter was holding, and my daughter excitedly told her about the new shoes she has gotten. My fiancé stayed quiet until later that night. While we were getting ready for bed, she started yelling at me for being irresponsible and a horrible person to her own kids. She said she was very mad because I should also get her kids shoes if I'm spending over $300 for my daughter. I mentioned that we agreed we would each provide for our own kids on our own, and her kids don't play any sports. They all sit in their rooms all day on their electronics. Even when I do buy them something, they never say thank you or appreciate what I get them. She got even angrier, and now she hasn't talked to me still. It's been 2 weeks. How do I handle her anger towards me for not getting her kids shoes when I got my daughter shoes? In the comments, Caesar You Later says, these are simply my opinions. 1. As a former high school runner of similar caliber, 5 pairs is a bit much all at once. 2 pairs now, 2 pairs when track actually starts, and a pair of spikes for each season would have been fine, and is probably the right way to go ultimately. But buying them all at once is probably what got the shock factor ramped up for your fiancé. 2. As someone who's been in a relationship dynamic similar to yours, any relationship where yelling and insults are seen as a way to resolve disagreements and conflict is bad news. I highly recommend counseling before marriage. On the back end of 2 years of individual counseling post-divorce, I know now how much we both could have used it beforehand. OP replies, thank you for your opinions. I suppose I could have waited, but I leave for a work trip in the beginning of January, which is when her track season starts, and I know my fiancé wouldn't take her to get shoes even if I sent her money for it. It just made sense to me to get them for her now rather than to wait. The track shoes are put away and ready for her to take out when track season starts. Though I do want to say that money is and never has been the issue. It's what I spent my money on for my daughter that my fiancé has issues with. To your comment on therapy, she's been medicated for depression and anxiety since she was 20. She goes to therapy herself weekly, but she doesn't like the idea of me going with her. Quote, I know my fiancé wouldn't take her to get shoes even if I sent her money for it. Read that again. You know this, yet you're still engaged to her? Why would you want to marry someone like this? OP replies, she says it's because she isn't comfortable getting something so important to my daughter because she doesn't want to mess it up. I don't want to force it, so I took her to get the shoes instead after her appointment. Haha, she knows all the right things to say. I don't know how you don't see right through it, or you play ignorant so you're not so lonely or something. OP says, money is not an issue for me. I make a lot, more than enough to live comfortably. My daughter's passion for running will never die down, so she won't quit. She tells me every day that she can't wait for practice so she can go on a run with her friends. Her foot size has stayed the same since grade 7. She just started freshman year, so I'm going to assume her foot size is done growing. Also, as a runner, it is her responsibility to have a well-balanced diet, stretch, roll out, and utilize her recovery runs and rest days efficiently so that she does not get injured. Of course, injuries happen, but she does things so the risk is minimized, and she's not had a serious injury in her running career. Am I the asshole for buying my daughter a gift when I didn't buy my fiance's kids one? This is posted by the same OP. It's not quite an update, it's kind of just another situation that's popped up. My daughter's Nintendo Switch completely stopped working earlier this week. She got it the month that it was released, March 2017, and has kept it in good condition for over 6 years. Yesterday, she had her conference cross-country meet, where she both PR'd and qualified to run state. To celebrate her new achievements, I took her out to eat and then bought her a new Nintendo Switch with a game that she picked out. My fiancé came back from her parents earlier today and saw my daughter playing with her Switch. She asked me about it after my daughter left with her boyfriend, and I told her that I wanted to celebrate her accomplishments in her running career, so I got her a new Switch as a gift. Fiancé then got really angry and told me that if I'm going to buy my daughter something, then I have to be fair and buy her own kids something too. I pointed out that I do buy her kids gifts when they reach goals and achievements too. For example, I bought my stepdaughter an expensive Hello Kitty necklace as a high school graduation gift, and I let both boys pick out 2 video games when they both passed their final exams. She told me that it's unfair I spend more on my daughter than I do her kids because I make a lot more than her. Fiancé then got angrier and accused me of not liking her kids because of the different financial treatment between her kids and my kid. She left with her 2 sons, but her daughter stayed with me at the house because she's on my side. I got a bunch of texts from her family calling me a selfish asshole for treating her kids differently when buying gifts. Am I the asshole? Edit. To answer some common questions, because there's a lot of comments and it's hard to get to all of them in a timely manner, how does your fiancé treat your daughter? Well, my daughter and fiancé don't interact much. They're both polite to each other, but they simply don't talk much aside from small talk and my daughter asking her some questions about cooking food. I've mentioned to my daughter before that if my fiancé were to ever mistreat her, she needs to tell me and I will always have her back no matter what. To my knowledge, my fiancé doesn't mistreat her at all, they just don't talk much. Do you have a will or a trust fund in place? OP says, I have a will set up that gives my daughter everything. My will is safe with a very trusted lawyer friend of mine. I also have a trust in place for my daughter, and she will gain full access to it once she turns 21. Did you have this argument in front of her children? OP says, no. She called her kids down and told them what we were arguing about. I told them my side, and her sons took her side and left with her. What is your relationship like with her kids? How are they with your daughter? OP says, my relationship with her sons is unfortunately minimal. I try to talk to them about their favorite topics or hobbies, and they either ignore me or shut the conversation down as soon as possible. I don't talk to them much either, other than when they come to me for advice on things like school, friends, etc. My relationship with her older daughter is very good though. I'd like to think that we are close. As for my daughter, she doesn't talk to her stepbrothers much, but she's extremely close with her older sister. Hope this clears up some things. Edit 2. To clear up another few common things being mentioned, my fiancé has not always been this way with my daughter and I. She started getting much more defensive when my daughter finished middle school. I am not with my fiancé for sex, my sex drive is low, and so is hers. Her children's father is not in their life and does not pay child support. My daughter's mother is not in her life either. In the comments, Patra Mavana says, not the asshole. You're not even married and already this kind of drama has started? Red flag. If she's that particular, she can buy them gifts as well. Or you both could discuss and get all of your kids appropriate gifts together. OP replies, we haven't really discussed financial treatment regarding the kids, but she doesn't buy my daughter anything. I understand that's because I make a lot more than her, but I didn't really think anything of her not buying things for my daughter. I'm so sorry to hear that. Maybe it's time to have that talk before things get any more serious. It would probably make sense to sign a prenup just in case. OP says, she's against signing a prenup because she takes it as me thinking of her as a gold digger, which I don't think she is. We are comfortable staying engaged. Good plan. What kind of jumps out is that she doesn't buy your daughter anything though. Just because she doesn't earn as much shouldn't stop her from treating your daughter with smaller value items. I'm sure she's still treating her own kids. Update. I made a post yesterday asking if I was the asshole because I didn't buy my fiance's kid a gift, but I bought my daughter one. I wanted to thank everyone for the positive feedback and the kind support as well as the helpful advice I've gotten. A lot of people asked for an update after I've talked to my fiance, so here you go. She came back at 12 in the morning alone. She said she left the boys at her parents' place because she doesn't, in her words, want them in the presence of a man who won't provide for them. I sat her down and talked to her about a lot of things, and a lot of you were right. This is not the woman that I want to marry. When I first brought up how she doesn't bring anything to the table, when I pay for everything, she didn't want to talk about it and kept dodging the subject. I brought up how unfair it was of her to expect me to provide for her and her children when she doesn't do anything for my daughter and the bare minimum for me. She doesn't do house chores, she doesn't pay bills, except her and her daughter's car payments and car insurance, and she spends minimal time with both me and my daughter. Fiance didn't say anything. Then I talked about the financial and emotional abuse, and she freaked the F out. She started yelling about how it was my job as the man to provide for her and her kids when I make so much more than her and they have no father figure. I'm all they had, and she kept bringing that up as an excuse for her behavior towards my money and how I spent it on my daughter. When I asked her what she expected me to do about my will or a prenup, she told me that any good husband would put his wife above everyone else. She had been banking on me giving her everything I had for over a year at this point. I don't like yelling at all, but I was at my breaking point with her at this point. We yelled at each other a lot. It's not my finest moment, and I'm ashamed, but I realized that I let so much happen and my daughter suffered as a result of it. I told her about her neglect towards my child and that I will no longer tolerate it. She's my number one priority over everyone else and always will be. I don't think my fiancé believed me when I said that, but I guess she realized I was serious when I told her to start packing. I'm done being an ATM for that lady, and it's crazy to think how strangers on an app made me realize how I was stuck in such a toxic, manipulative, and abusive relationship with her. My now ex-fiancé won't be a problem anymore, I hope. I don't think I'll be with another person for a long time, but thank you to everyone for the support and kindness. Edit. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask and I will answer. Edit 2. My ex's daughter will be staying with me, and I will financially support her through college, and I will also help her get her own place. Her and I are on good terms, and I want to make sure my ex will not be using her as a token to manipulate me any further. In the comments, Moon Phases says, did she change her tune after you told her to pack? Any apologies? Or did she just leave bitterly? OP says, she started crying and begging me to let her stay. No apologies though. I felt bad because she kept saying that I was leaving her poor and defenseless, and now she has to stay with her parents. Good. She wanted to leave your daughter cold and out of everything. Heaven forbid if something had happened to you, she would have turned your daughter into her Cinderella. I may have come across as quite harsh yesterday, but my intentions were to try and make you see how bad it actually was for your daughter and how much you were manipulated. Well done for putting your daughter above all. Do not let her friends and family bully you into taking her back. Good luck and protect yourself and your kid. OP says, your comment stood out to me because it addressed the reason why my daughter might not be telling me what really goes on when she's alone with my ex. I plan to talk to her later today when I pick her up from her boyfriend's house. I received a lot of harsh comments, but I realize now that it was necessary. I don't think I would have been able to leave my ex if people on the outside were nice to me about it. Rules for thee, but not for me. When they agreed that they would each provide for their own children, she decided that it meant she would not provide for his child. When she accused him of not liking her kids, she was actively avoiding building a relationship with his daughter. When she accused him of being horrible to her kids, she saw no problem with calling them down to watch the two of them have an argument. Real clown shit. Probably the type that expected OP to be the holiday dad to his daughter, so OP is a full-time parent to her kids and not the kids that aren't hers. Like that other post on BORU. Yeah, honestly, what a toxic woman, saying that she didn't want a prenup either when it's very obvious that her actions were those of a gold digger, and she doesn't even fight that accusation. She has no leg to stand on when OP points out just how shitty she's been to his kid. I just can't wrap my head around these people, and I'm so glad that OP has broken things off. You deserve so much better, OP. Congratulations, I say. Our next post is by user Patient Currency, titled, Little Sister Calling Me a Parasitic Leech. Enjoy the Amish Lifestyle. I'm 28 years old and live in a town with a cost of living crisis. I moved back in with my parents since we have a good relationship. I buy all the groceries and pay the electric bill. My little sister, 16, however, was not happy. She was saying that I should be a man and move out again. A few weeks ago, she started continuously calling me a freeloader and a parasitic leech. My parents are anti-tech. They're not part of a cult, they just avoid technology and prefer to live a simplistic life. The only modern tech they use is a laundry machine, a car, a flip phone, and a TV. They don't, however, take away our gadgets if we paid for them ourselves. When I turned 18 and was looking for my first job, I had to handwrite a resume since I didn't have a computer or a printer. It is impossible to get a job while still in school because of the job market in our town. Now, my little sister was lucky. I bought her a smartphone with a data plan since she was a young child, yet she was continuously calling me all these names. Eventually, my little sister's constant name-calling got on my nerves, and I came up with an idea. As the smartphone is under an active installment plan, I simply repossessed the smartphone. Now she's having the same childhood that I had. Oh, and she's stopped with the name-calling. Enjoy the Amish lifestyle, little sis. In the comments, Ramradron says, this is a gentler version of what a friend of mine experienced with his entitled 16-year-old daughter. Some of her entitlement comes from playing two divorced parents against each other, sometimes successfully. She was demanding some expensive item, I don't remember what, and when told no, screeched, "F you, never spend any money on me." He said, okay, for the next month I won't spend any money on you. And except for food, shelter, hygiene necessaries, he didn't. Her mum was on board with my friend as she had been on the receiving end of this type of behavior too. She had to pack her own school lunch and had no spending money. About 2 weeks in, she apologized, but the demonstration lasted a month. As a result, the entitlement knob was turned down several notches. Man, growing up poor, I could never imagine this, Lamau. I remember every single instance of every splurge of random shit that my parents bought for me. Every video game, every book. The time I got a Wi-Fi card for my computer, $40 for it. It wasn't even my birthday or Christmas, and even then it would have been a lot. We didn't even have internet when I got it, Lamau. I was just stealing Wi-Fi because Wi-Fis weren't protected back then. Good for you for having a spine, OP. It is a gentler lesson when family dishes it out versus what the world will do to her. I just don't understand the hostility she had towards OP. Like, she's acting like he was constantly in her way, but that doesn't seem to be the case. He's just trying to live, Lamau. I guess she felt the only child appeal was taken from her, but even then... What? She's just your typical 16-year-old brat who's had a comfier time growing up. Just about every parent has to step up and nip this shit in the bud like OP did. Not uncommon, but parents actually rising to the challenge to parent and not just acquiesce is more rare. Update. It's been a while since I took back my smartphone, which I'd been lending to my little sister, because she kept calling me a parasitic leech for having to move back home due to the rising cost of living. She has had no access to the internet since, as our parents are pretty anti-technology. I believe that justice should be fair, impartial, and reasonable. Reasonable being the key word here. With that said, I decided to give the smartphone back to my little sister as she stopped with the constant name-calling, was being a bit friendly, and because she was sleeping all day ever since I took the phone. Life is very short, and I don't want to hold grudges with anyone, especially my own sister. So I gently knocked on her door with a smartphone in my hand and said, "Hi, little sister," as I greeted her through the closed door.
"Having what, C-word?"
my little sister yelled. I replied, "Well, I was going to give you back the smartphone, but it seems like you want to be left alone, so I'll leave you be. Enjoy the day, little sis." She then came out like a yelping dog, begging for the phone back. I told her that my friend really needed a smartphone, so I was thinking of giving it to him. She sighed and went back into her room. She's sleeping now. I think I'll let her buy her own smartphone this time. Hopefully she'll mature in the coming years. She was such a sweet child a couple of years ago, and I hope that she'll be a sweet person in a couple more. In the comments, Lifeform says, the reality is she doesn't deserve one until she can provide it herself. You've tried, you've seen some change in her, but as you found out, it wasn't a permanent change. Just move on from it. Give your friend the phone and let her deal with it. You've tried to help her twice now, and she's learning the consequences. You're a good person with what you're already providing the household, and also what you provided her extra. She's FAFO twice. This is very valuable input. To be honest, reading she is just sleeping now because she doesn't have a phone? What the hell? Is she that addicted that she can't live her life without a phone? Maybe you're really doing her a favor by not giving her the phone. It's probably depression. I struggle with major depression, diagnosed, and when I didn't have my phone, I would just sleep the day away because I don't see a point in anything else. I can't text my friends or ask to hang out, I don't like eating without watching something, and my phone is like the only thing that helps keep my mental health at bay. Sister was 100% a bitch though, and doesn't deserve that phone if that's how she's treating the person giving it to her. She needs to learn to be nice to the people that are being nice to you, or the niceness will be revoked. Why is she demonizing the sibling who has bought her all these gadgets? It's bizarre. I was called a parasitic leech by my sister too. I lived on my own, paid college myself, didn't ask for money, but I was on a family cell phone plan. Went no contact, by the way. People don't need reasons to be crazy AF. Oh, we've come full circle. My mother hangs off of my cell phone plan now. Quote, she was sleeping all day ever since I took the phone. She then sighed and went back into her room. She's sleeping now. Name calling aside, this is still concerning. Concerning, or the expected. She's now lost how all of her peers socialize with each other. Of course she's depressed. The current meme? She doesn't know it. Her crush posted something? She didn't see it. A friend messaged her going through a bad time? Would look like she ghosted that person. Gen Z and Gen Alpha's use of social media, like it or not, is essential for them to feel like they belong. But this isn't on OP though, but their parents denying their children a normal, or the current normal, childhood because they're personally hung up on tech. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.